Prior work tells us that comparisons between firms are important for our understanding of decision-making in organizations. Examples include comparisons regarding products, processes, or performance. In case of performance, for example, performance feedback or probabilistic search tells us that when performance falls short from that of other organizations, also called references, this signals the existence of a problem, causing subsequent search or decisions in order to deal with this problem. Now, while we know that comparisons with other organizations matter for our understanding of organizational decision-making, we know little about how firms actually select these references. So far, the dominant assumption is that firms compare to their immediate competitors, often derived via industry code or geography-derived overlaps. While this assumption sounds reasonable, in reality, reference data is difficult to observe, implying that there is no evidence-backed model explaining this important phenomenon. It also implies that the many decision-making theories building on interorganizational comparisons largely rely on an untested assumption. This induced a team of international researchers led by Johannes Luger to investigate the question of how firms actually select references. When doing so, the researchers started to look for the rare and difficult to observe data documenting organizations' reference self-selection. In their search, they found STR competitive set data. STR is the largest data provider in the hospitality industry and, as one of its data services, allows member hotels to select other hotels for which the selecting hotel receives comparison data regarding performance and operations. When studying this data and when developing a theory for it, the researchers rely on social comparison theory. Social comparison theory was originally developed for individuals and suggests that alternative motivations underlie reference selection. One example is self-assessment, which describes the motivation of individuals to compare with others in order to accurately assess themselves. The researchers evaluate such motivation-related mechanisms in their STR data and found evidence backing it. Thereby, the STR data is particularly well suited to juxtapose their novel logic from the field's existing view on references derived from industry affiliations. This is because the STR data contains population-level information on all hotels part of the industry at a certain time, including the ones leaving or entering. This allows the researchers to empirically contrast their novel motivation-related mechanism from the one focusing on changes in industry affiliation. Altogether, the biggest implication from their findings is a changed logic underlying interorganizational comparisons. Their findings imply that reference selection is not necessarily exogenous or industry-derived, but may describe an endogenous process where references are selected on demand in order to serve a certain need or purpose. This is a major departure from the existing view because it questions the independent effect of reference comparisons in the many theories relying on them, such as performance feedback, imitation, vicarious learning, impression management, institutional theory, and many others. For example, regarding the mentioned performance feedback theory, with their findings, the researchers are able to explain inconsistent prior results. For example, when finding evidence that a performance shortfall is unassociated with subsequent search or decision-making. Overall, the researchers conclude that their work triggers a plethora of future work. This includes work investigating the purpose-driven mechanism further, for example, by isolating and studying other purposes, such as self-verification or self-improvement. By studying the triggers of these purposes, and by studying how these triggers and purposes translate into actual references selected, their work also asks for future research studying the implications of such endogenous selection to the many mentioned theories relying on comparisons between organizations.